All right, let's look further at Cosatu's 14th National Conference that began in Midrand today. Dr. Sithembiso Bhengu, a director at the Hani Institute, joining me in studio. Thank you for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you.
All right, the President laid out a lot of the issues there. What more was the message to the ANC when Cosatu delegates to this conference were booing Gwede Mantashe?
I think the message was quite clear. Obviously, as we know, Cosatu has a now significant number of public service workers, and we know about the government's reneging on the 2018 collective bargaining agreement. Even the current collective bargaining negotiations are stalled almost on a deadlock, and so we had adding another caveat with the ANC workers themselves, who are, by the way, organized by Nehau. All of them unpaid, and so these are the frustrations that delegates who are actual shop stewards of workers on the floor are expressing, and I think it is a very clear message on the frustration of workers around the ANC that they elect, and probably then the ANC that after electing probably seems not to carry out the kinds of mandates that represents the kind of base that is supposed to be their voters.
And let's be clear, it is the ANC, surely, that these workers are talking to, not Gwede Mantashe personally, because we've even seen the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, being booed before.
Yes.
So it's about the party, not any individual.
Yes, it is indeed about the ANC, and so it's not about the individual. And obviously we have seen in May or on May Day how workers also expressed, and generally workers, they like to use the Paulo Freire kind of notion on the pedagogy of the oppressed around how workers teach, so that these kind of demonstrations are in a way how workers, they demonstrate, they teach the leaders themselves around how they feel.
All right, that was quite a lesson today. But before the current issue of salaries, there have been rumblings for a very long time about the tripartite alliance itself. Is it still fit for purpose? And we know that some within Cosatu want workers to go alone, maybe under the SABC as the party. Will we see any firm decision in that regard from this gathering?
I do think that in fact, it's one of the key policy issues that are going to be discussed around the role of the what position does Cosatu take in relation to the voting with the ANC. Yeah. But obviously, the issue of the tripartite alliance it's broader than just simple voting every 4 years or every 5 years and those. I know, obviously, because of our work in the documents that they have, in fact, that there is the position that seems to be advanced is the one in which sometime around September 2023, there are likely to be a special Congress. And so there are things that have been, some of them called by the Communist Party, if you remember, in their Congress in July, some of them that are going to arise from this Congress around the convening of the Alliance Summit, the political summit, the economic summit. And so I suppose those are going to be some precursors that are also going to be determining factors around whether they are able to summon the ANC and essentially to feel that they have a voice and that there is some trajectoral change around the challenges that the ANC is facing, but there is possibly a call for a special Congress around late 2023 to then make a determination around.
So the next year will be crucial to decide.
Yes.
It's a wait and see.
Indeed.
In the meantime, Cosatu has a lot of issues to address while the ANC has been declining. So, of course, has it been losing members? Before this, a report came out saying it lost 60,000 due to retrenchments around COVID. But there have been other issues as well. Then we've seen disunity among worker unions, SAFTU born out of the split. And in that regard, what do you make of the murmurings around Zwelinzima Vavi attending this Cosatu conference?
Actually, the General Secretary of SAFTU is at Congress because I was there earlier, so I saw him there physically. I think it's quite an interesting time because
he's been calling for unity.
Yes,
he's been calling for a coming together somehow.
Indeed, he has been calling for unity. Cosatu itself, by the way, has been calling for unity. We already know, if you remember, in 2020 that Section 77 strike, National Day of Action on the 7th of October in 2020, right at the heart of COVID, it was actually a joint action between Cosatu unions and SAFTU unions, with FEDUSA, with NACTU. The recent one on August 24, the day of action by Cosatu, which went to the union building, it was also another joint campaign which had Cosatu unions, SAFTU unions, even civil society organizations that were brought by SAFTU, and even in the current issues with the police march, in which now SAFTU has actually gained the actual permission to actually declare a strike. That was actually jointly between SAPU, the SAFTU affiliated union of police, and POPCRO. And so there are those joint, in July, NUMSA actually held a joint shop steward bargaining council with NUM on ESCOM. And so there are beginnings of, obviously not unity per se at present, but I think there is beginning of movements around these unions identifying areas of commonality and probably common struggles. AMCU, by the way, and NUM. So when they were booing the president on May 1st, it was both AMCU and NUM. And so there are some shifts that are happening. And so it's going to be interesting to see whether are they able to build from this Congress as well as from the recent SAFTU Congress to what does it build to.
Very interesting. But finally, surely for both of them, SAFTU and Cosatu, they have to look at the fact that the more recent shutdown, called the national shutdown, was a bit of a flop. Do you agree?
Not really. I mean, it happens obviously because we were there as observers, and I was actually...
But they didn't get people out onto the streets, and they were also trying to appeal to the unemployed and say, join us. It seemed like it didn't happen.
Well, it did. I remember that when I was leaving, I took an Uber, and an Uber guy asked me, this was not successful, and so we were asking why. Then he says, because there was no fraction, fractious things, and so we were trying to explain that. I think, in our view, the ability of these federations that have been separated and in many cases quite acrimoniously, the ability to actually agree on specific things and come together, because the challenges that are facing workers in South Africa, it's quite simple, clearly, that it's only when these unions, they begin to actually evade their idiosyncrasies and essentially find a way of working together that there is any possibility in which they can actually do something.
All right, so the unity for you was key. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Dr. Sithembiso Bhengu, Director at the Chris Hani Institute.